Show.
Right, so let's talk load shedding. Let's talk the impact of load shedding on businesses, township businesses, small businesses. I mean, has it been a huge impact, or am I just fussing over absolutely nothing? We'll find out. Bulelani Balabala is with us. He's the founder of Join Us for Tea, and he's always got this cap here. If we can see that very clearly, it says "Get Things Done." And we're going to find out how is he getting things done. Bulelani, I appreciate your time. Good of you to join us. Thank you.
Good morning, Ashraf. Thank you so much for having me on your platform this morning. Good morning to
Good.
all the viewers.
Thank you. Let's start with the Join Us for Tea. I mean, what does that mean?
So Join Us for Tea, in actual fact, is one of the slogans that we use for our initiative. The initiative is Township Entrepreneurs Alliance. It's an initiative that's been running now for the past 9 years. And over the past 9 years, we've been able to directly impact over 65,000 township entrepreneurs with a array of, I'd say products, for lack of a better word, right?
Yeah.
So the one is that we go township to township over a 12-month period, over 18 townships, and we provide workshops and training, small business exhibition, mentorship, as well as grant funding opportunities for winning pitches. And then there's a part of the two other parts, of what we do that focuses on research and insights. And then the other part then focuses on being able to, whatever funds we would have acquired from big businesses that have been distressed, that have suffered from things like the looting, as we've seen, the floods, and we're hoping that there would be some sort of relief with the load shedding.
Yeah, which we'll get onto in a moment. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, of course, you and I know each other for quite a few years, and the work that you do, I think, is formidable, and it's so aligned to what I do at Champion South Africa, where effectively, you champion entrepreneurs or champion township entrepreneurs, which is a great way to build the champions required to build a champion nation. Absolutely. But okay, let's get to the distress part, right? So, load shedding, besides being fussed and irritated, does it affect businesses, specifically, township and other small businesses, in a way that is worrisome?
No, definitely. It goes without saying, small businesses that are in the township are experiencing a big impact. And I think just everyone, but I think for the purpose of this report, it's in line with our primary focus as an organization. It's in focusing on township markets. And I mean, I'll sort of kick off this report with our first key findings, right? The first finding is, over 60% of township small businesses, they completely halt their operations. They stop operating during load shedding. The second key point is 66% have mentioned that they have had to shed jobs as a result of load shedding. The third key finding is it's an obvious increase in operating costs and lost revenue, which is a decrease in revenue, and also your margins sort of recede. The fourth one is there's a lot of misinformation and a lack of understanding around what alternative power solutions are there. So as a result, the ones who are able to afford generators or UPSs and the sorts are not getting the adequate information that's required, and as a result, those products are not lasting them or giving them the power output that they need to sustain them. And I guess a lack of affordability for alternate power solutions that are able to actually help you through load shedding on a consistent basis. And the fifth key finding was the threat of mental health on small business owners.
Okay, so those are the 5 key findings.
Yeah, those are the 5 key findings, and I think what we did is we reached out to the entrepreneurs that we've worked with nationwide to just sort of get an understanding, because I think for most cases, what has happened is we see or we hear the screams or the cries of small businesses, but we don't really quantify what that actual impact is. And I think in this particular case, this was an opportunity for us to quantify the impact in this particular moment and then create some sort of a short document that even other policymakers or other corporates that are out there that are looking at solving for these problems would be very clear in terms of what the problems are and how to actually go about solving some of these problems.
Okay, so just first things first. Is this report? Uh, is that report available for? Because I mean, you've given me the top level findings, but I mean, I would take it there's a lot more detail around it. Is that available for public consumption?
Yeah. So the report is available for public consumption. What we're doing now, we're in the process of putting it on our public share stream platform, so that you're able to just click on a link and download it. So that should be done by tomorrow, in actual fact. But tomorrow, one would be able to go to our T page and download whatsoever that they need to download on there. But I
Okay,
think
good.
for
Well, I tell
me,
you what. Okay, so
yeah,
firstly on that part there, I mean, besides linking it to Salam Media because I'm talking on that platform now, you need to tag Champion South Africa. You need to tag me. I will share that. I think it is absolutely
definitely.
that important. So you need to do that, right? So let's look at the, uh, your first one is 60% of businesses halt. They actually stop operating during load shedding. When was your report in terms of research? When did that end? And I'm saying that because what I'm wondering is, has that included stage 6 stroke stage 8, whatever we're experiencing right now? Because if that's the case, it's even worse, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't include this transition from stage 6 to stage 8. In actual fact, we had done it at a point where it's done this year, at a point where we're in stage 6, to
Okay.
focus on that immediate moment, that moment of pressure that these small businesses would have been experiencing at that particular time. So when you sort of
Yeah.
look at the fact that they halt business, I think there's a note that I want to pull on here, just reading from my notes here. I mean, another interesting factor on that is the top 4 sectors that shed jobs the most as a result of load shedding was food and beverages, agriculture, manufacturing, and IT. And some of the, and sort of when you interact with some of the entrepreneurs, some of the cases that you pick up there is, I think one entrepreneur talks about when there is no load shed, when there is load shedding and I don't have electricity and they run a clinic in a local township, they say that they move vaccines, they move the vaccine fridge from the clinic and they drive all the way to their house, and carry some of the stuff in smaller cooler boxes so that the medicine doesn't deteriorate or lose its efficacy. One gentleman who's a
Yeah.
boiler producer in Bulelani says, I run a boiler chicken farm, and when load shedding hits, usually I light up mbawula. Mbawula would be, you take, mbawula is lighting a fire. But how we used to
Absolutely.
do it when
Yeah.
we were young in the
Yeah.
township
Yeah.
is you get a canister of paint, you poke
You
holes on
trim
the
holes in
sides
there. Yeah.
for
Yeah. Yeah.
ventilation, and then you put wood in the center. That's how he sort of keeps his poultry farm going with his 600 chickens. So we've
Yeah.
also then heard stories of entrepreneurial resilience in some of the entrepreneurs that are just navigating this tumultuous time, and then also you can also then imagine the impact going into stage 8. But also, the beautiful thing for us has always been, I think, in the work that we do, there are some opportunities that come, or there's some solutions that come almost indirectly. So what we've been doing over the past couple of months is we've been moving from township to township with our Kasi business workshops, with the purpose of training these township entrepreneurs. Now, the interesting thing is, our key focus there was to use community hall, was to use local small business owned, whether it's a Shabin, Tavern, it's a Chisanyama, it doesn't matter as long as it's in the township, can provide us adequate space, it's got the right sanitary requirements and the sorts, then we utilize it. But an interesting factor is that these actual structures or venues that are considered party places or a place where you go and drink after work or
Mm,
a
mm,
big
mm.
party time place over the weekend, now could actually be a place for small businesses to go to, because majority of them open at 9 o'clock. They've got zero customers between 9 and 3 or 4 o'clock, but they're still running their generators throughout the day, but where they have no customers. So this then presents an opportunity, through the workshop that we do, to then start to re-conscientizing small businesses to say, instead of strangulating yourself and getting taxi money and driving all the way to your nearest town so that you can get power, in actual fact, you can go to your local restaurant, Chisanyam or Tavern, because they've got backup power, they've got empty seats, and operate and work from there. So those are some of the sort of cross solutions that have sort of come. I think, the second one, which was a beautiful story, was a story of small businesses out in one of the townships that decided to just chip in and buy a generator. And when load shedding hits, it sort of all just clamor up and work from that one singular space. So those are some of the great stories. But, because of the cost of renewable power and because of also the misinformation around, not renewable, alternate power, and sort of the misinformation around what alternate power actually require, one then would then be spending their money in a bucket that's got holes in it, or you just purely be left out completely because you might not be able to afford the backup system that would actually assist you in this time.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, there's evidence of some resilience and evidence of innovation to basically stay alive, right? But I mean, some of the issues certainly do worry me. The 60% halting of businesses during load shedding, I mean, is a huge concern. Did the survey also tell you whether businesses have halted, as in not existing any longer directly because of load shedding?
We had picked up some notes from there. It wasn't on the big majority, but some of the entrepreneurs had actually said that they've shut down. They've had to shut down completely. Some of them have had to shut down, go back to a few are very lucky to still get their jobs back in corporate. Others have shut down completely, and they're trying to pivot into other spaces because the cost of getting renewable power or the cost of getting alternate power is just far too expensive for them, that it excludes them from the market entirely.
So a couple of things very quickly before we wrap up, right? In terms of, I mean, obviously shrunken revenues, shrunken profits, difficult to sustain. I mean, those are obvious things that even all of us are having. So why wouldn't they? Well, why would it be different for them? And the loss of jobs that you mentioned as well, right? From your side, your Township Entrepreneurs Alliance, T, right? Are you in a position to provide the conduit for assistance by reaching out to whether it's government or other businesses to support them?
In actual fact, what we're doing right now is we've put together some sort of an action plan that we're talking to some of our stakeholders about, to try and see, can we solve. We won't solve everyone's problem, but can we start the conversation of, building in some solutions in and around supporting some of these businesses, because small businesses is the backbone of our economy, and these are the ones who could actually drive jobs. Then it's very important that we sustain them. We sustain them, number one, through power, and then we sustain them through being able to negotiate procurement opportunities with big business and also with government. So I think that's definitely what.
And therefore, I mean, I would think in the short term, the issue of alternate energy supplies, right? Yes, you're quite right. For the average township guy, he would have nowhere where to go. He's just baffled by all these type of things. Are you in a position again to negotiate that alternate supply in bulk and then pass it on to these township businesses?
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what we're busy with at the moment. It's something that we're very excited about, that we'll announce once it's finalized. It's looking very positive.
All right. Well, will certainly keep us informed. Maybe here's the last question. Did it come up that in fact they were grateful in spite of the problems? There appeared to be great government support, or in fact government support and relief has been non-existent?
To date, it's been non-existent to the small business owners. So it's totally been non-existent. I think some of them have completely benefited from the fact that within their townships, they are large scale shopping centers that they could run to and work from, because the shopping centers have got backup power. And just by sitting in a restaurant or whatsoever, you were then able to then operate. But the support hasn't yet come. And I think also maybe then, it's probably due to a myriad of other reasons, but the support is required so that we keep these businesses alive.
And I think that's why this conversation is so important. We've talked in the past about like living with HIV or living with AIDS and then living with COVID, but how much of it is being documented living with load shedding, the impact that it has. Don't answer that because that's another whole conversation. But I think it's that important that we need to understand the impact it's had on every one of us and why government. Well, maybe they just can't because they don't have the money. Why they're not treating it in the same way as a disaster as one would treat it. You would treat COVID-19. You would even treat some other natural flooding. In fact, it's the same thing. The impact is still the same. Bulelani, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. You're going to share those links, right? Looking forward to that. Perfect.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, there you are. That's really important. I mean, that's township businesses, the ditto small businesses. I would think around the country. I would expect that the outcomes of their research and their findings should actually be the same across the country. The question is, how do we resolve it? How do we keep them afloat? What can government do? What can others do? Can we form alliances to support them? Because you don't want any of these businesses to be folding, and you certainly don't want people to move from employed to unemployed. Let's talk about the politics of parliament. That comes up next.